From matter what? What matters most is what's unfold. Imagine this. You're standing in a crowded room, but it feels like you're underwater. Voices everywhere, laughter bouncing off the walls. People slipping into conversations like it costs them nothing. And you're present, but not in it. You're watching, observing, thinking too far, feeling too deeply. Someone asks, "Why don't you talk more?" And you smile because you can't explain that your mind is 3 chapters ahead of the moment. You can't explain that surface-level conversation feels like drinking from an empty cup. If this feels familiar, you're not broken, you're not antisocial, you're not behind. You're simply built with a mind psychology rarely talks about. Here are 6 rare traits that people with few or no friends often share. Traits that look like problems from the outside, but make perfect sense once you understand the inside. Some people think. You analyze. Most people take information at face value. You take it apart, rotate it, examine it under 3 different emotional lights. This is cognitive depth, a naturally deep processing style that pushes your mind far beyond small talk. You don't enter conversations quickly because your brain doesn't work quickly. It works deeply. You're not ignoring people. You're noticing everything about them. Deep thinkers tend to have fewer friendships, not because they can't bond, but because shallow bonds feel uncomfortable, like wearing the wrong size skin. You'd rather walk alone than force a connection that doesn't reach the depth your mind lives in. Here's the second trait. You feel emotions the way musicians hear notes. Subtle, distinct, layered. Psychologists call this emotional granularity, the ability to sense and label emotions with unusual accuracy. Most people feel good or bad. You feel the difference between disappointment, misalignment, anticipation, resentment, relief, or longing before anyone else even notices a shift. Your emotional world is richer, sharper, and more complex. But complexity comes with a cost. Most social spaces aren't built for people who feel this much. Small talk feels too shallow. Fast emotions feel misleading. Surface reactions feel dishonest. People mistake this for being sensitive or withdrawn. But the truth is simple. You're not overwhelmed. You're built for emotional precision, for feeling in high definition. Trait 3 is the one nobody warns you about. Because when you think deeply and feel precisely, your brain naturally begins to see patterns. Tiny ones, quiet ones that most people miss. You notice the way someone's face tightens a little when they hear a certain name, the way their tone shifts when they feel insecure, the way their enthusiasm spikes only when attention does. Psychologists call this pattern sensitivity, a form of social intuition built on high awareness. You start predicting behavior before it happens, not by magic, but by noticing the micro patterns humans repeat without realizing. But seeing patterns also means seeing red flags, early, earlier than everyone else, earlier than is comfortable. And once you see a pattern, you can't pretend you don't. So you step back, not out of fear, but out of clarity. Trait 4 is a natural consequence of trait 3. When you see patterns, you also see inauthenticity instantly. The psychologists call this moral sensitivity, a heightened internal response to dishonesty or inconsistency. To you, fake friendliness feels louder than real connection. Social games feel pointless. Manipulation feels obvious. Performing feels exhausting. Most people can tolerate a little dishonesty to get through the day. You can't. Your nervous system reacts quickly, sharply, automatically. It's not drama, it's a reflex, your internal system rejecting emotional contamination. This makes your circle incredibly small, not because you're picky, but because your authenticity filter is set higher than most people can reach. Selective silence, speaking only when it matters. People misunderstand this one the most. Your silence is not shyness, not fear, not insecurity. It's selective silence, a psychological strategy where your brain conserves energy by speaking only when the meaning is real. You stay quiet because you're processing, you're observing, you refuse to talk just to fill the air. You don't want to reduce something deep into something shallow. You don't want to waste authenticity on someone who won't value it. Silence is your filter, your shield, your boundary, where meaning begins and noise ends. People think you're distant, but what you really are is intentional. You're waiting for conversations where your voice feels like it belongs. And finally, the trait that surprises everyone. You're good at being alone, not surviving, not coping, but thriving. Psychologists call this solitude competence, the ability to generate meaning, comfort, and stimulation internally. Most people need noise to distract themselves. You don't. You think, you create, you build inner worlds. You connect with your mind in ways others can't imagine. You don't need crowds to feel alive. You don't need validation to feel real. You don't need company to feel whole. And that is why you often end up alone. Not because you're incapable of connection, but because you don't require it for emotional stability. Your peace is self-produced. If you have few or no friends, it doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're failing. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It might simply mean that your mind works differently, deeper, sharper, more sensitive, more aware, more honest. The world may not understand that, but the world isn't your measure. People like you walk alone not because they're weak, but because they're growing into someone strong enough to stand without a crowd. And when someone finally matches your depth, your clarity, your emotional precision, your integrity, you won't need a large circle. You'll only need one real connection. Until then, don't shrink, don't dim, don't apologize for the mind you were born with. Solitude isn't a punishment, it's preparation. Drop your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your story. And if this space made you pause for a moment, I'd truly appreciate it if you hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so we can meet again in the next quiet moment.